Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and I'm looking this morning at a book from Jordan's. It's one that many of you will know, and it's very much a companion, if you like, to the other publications you'll see in the Magistrates Courts, Stones being the main one. This is the Jordan's version, which is the Magistrates Courts Criminal Practice 2011, under the general editorship of David Brewer. Now, there are a large number of people who are involved in this publication, so not just one individual, but he's put a huge amount of effort in. A very useful foreword from Lord Justice Thomas at the beginning, and then you've got the statutes, tables, various other things, then you go straight into the particular work itself. And one of the things that's particularly helpful, I think, are the commentaries that are given when you're looking at particular Acts of Parliament. And I'll give you one example here. You've got, for instance, the Act itself, then you've got the scope of the provision. And that is where you may find it helpful when you're actually arguing a particular point in court. There is at the back a CD, and there's a very detailed index as well, which is something I'm sure you will find of some help. Let me tell you a little bit about the book. It's a very heavy book. It's just under 3,000 pages long, and about 2,800. So it's a big book. It's got some nice little dividers in, so you can find things quite helpfully. So this sort of thing is quite useful. But as I say, be careful with the pages because they are quite flimsy. That's the problem with Stones, of course, as well, but do take a bit of care. Let me tell you a bit about the book. There's a detailed review on the web. We've given it the title, Practical and Accessible Help and Guidance for Advocates in the Magistrates Court, plus a CD, and that, of course, is very helpful. Let me start by mentioning Lord Justice Thomas. In his foreword, he writes that here's a textbook that sets out with clarity the main areas of practice and procedure of the criminal jurisdiction of the Magistrates Courts. That's what it is. And depending on what you use, this isn't 3 volumes, it's 1, so it's actually a bit easier to carry around, although of course you will find the more detailed works available, hopefully, in most of the courts. The key word, of course, here is clarity, ever a necessary but too often a rare attribute when it comes to legal texts, but evident in abundance in this comprehensive and authoritative volume which has recently been published by Jordan's. It is very much in the mind of the editor, David Brewer, and his team of 9 expert contributors, are the obvious changes that have taken place in law and procedure in the past decade, and which, in the opinion of Thomas, have made a law more complex. Couldn't agree more with you. The problem is that we're getting more and more complicated, and the whole purpose had been, and the aims have been for some decades now, that we should make it easier rather than more difficult. However, the implications for justice here are of course worrying with the complexity, which means that in the interests of justice, the aim of the Magistrates' Court should be to ensure that all cases that come before them are dealt with fairness and efficiency, with the overriding objective as set out in the criminal procedure rules, which we've now got in place, so that criminal cases be dealt with justly. Achieving this objective, of course, as consistently as possible does depend on clarity, in other words, the clear identification of relevant issues, including those that are agreed and those that are disputed. So the new edition of the Magistrates Courts Criminal Practice is, in our view, very welcome, because it will be a boon to advocates in that it emerges as an excellent navigational aid, so to speak, for practice and procedure. It is, of course, in 1 volume, which I think again is helpful, although even be it nearly 3,000 pages long. As I said, take care with the pages. There's 6 parts to it. I'm not going to go into details because you'll know the various areas. You can see the shaded areas there, which indicate the places that you may wish to go to. But within the 6 parts, they cover all the main things that you'd be looking for. As I say, within the 3,000 pages, it's noteworthy as a volume to note that it includes all the relevant up-to-date content, including the criminal procedure rules and all the other things that have been happening very recently. It also has coverage of the Youth Court Bench Book 2010, which I think will be of help to those practitioners in that area. Let me conclude by saying It's an essential work of reference for all practitioners who routinely deal with cases in the magistrates' courts. I appreciate that there are other publications on the market as well. This one is particularly helpful, I think, because, as I've indicated, it's the scope of the provisions where you may have a point you can put forward. Anyway, thank you to all concerned for an excellent publication. Bye bye.